Right, welcome everybody to another episode of Chris and Dave's Reality Cast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Phelps, and my co-host and very good friend is Mr. Dave Horrocks.
Hey there, Chris, and hello to all listeners out there. Welcome to Chris and Dave's Reality TV Cast. We are covering Love is Blind, Season 2, Episode 11, a.k.a. The Reunion. Chris, I can imagine what we want to dominate this conversation with, but we probably have to give airtime to other people. So where would you like to start?
Well, you know what, Dave? That's a very good point, because looking at my notes and looking at every reunion recap article, it starts off trying to sort of go couple to couple, but it ends up with the same person being involved, because he's involved in every conversation, this fucking bellend, isn't he? So Shay just completely railroaded this reunion. And I think even so much so that Nick and Vanessa Lachey, I think they were getting a bollocking in their ear from the producers, because he literally took over the show. It was fucking ridiculous.
I don't know. I thought her in particular, I thought she was genuinely losing it with him.
Yes.
And then he had the gall to say he fancied her.
That was the best moment ever in this whole series. I was like, you fucking bellend. You know how to win an argument and go, well, actually, I'm really attracted to you. It was fucking nonsense. What a prick, Dave. I mean, sorry, you're right. You said let's start somewhere else. I was supposed
start somewhere else. It doesn't rhyme with fake.
Yes, fake. So we in the episode they did a recap of Shane, Natalie, and Shayna. So they showed that little bit of VT. Shane was really uncomfortable. Again, no fucking socks on, Dave. Not happy about this fucking outfit he's wearing. My brother did turn up to a family christening yesterday with a pair of what looked like fucking Aladdin shoes on, because he was taking the piss out of me, because I had like
Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah, I had like sort of combat boots on with my jeans, and he had these, and I went, fuck off, and he's taking a piss or pick. I said, give us that bottle. I had a bottle of water. Most of my family don't actually drink. There's only me who's the exception, and you know me, I'm not a massive drinker, but I picked up his bottle and I started rubbing it and going, can you grab me 3 wishes? And he's like, fuck off, and everyone was crying. So, you know, as the families do, it was just tit for tat, and it was all out warfare. But anyway, it's fucking completely gone off the scale there, but with his shoes. But yeah, I mean, Shane did look quite disheartened, and it was sort of like, he was really uncomfortable. He sat next to Shay, which didn't help. And I just think that whole thing played out. He apologised to Natalie. Natalie apologised to him. Shane was there. But Dave, I've got to say, one of the biggest observations from this episode is, does Shayna have fucking bad eyesight or something? Because every single conversation it panned to her, she had this squinty-eyed look on her face. I don't know, it was like an evil fucking dictator that, like, look, as if to say, I've got your number, but I'm actually doing the squinty-eyed thing now, even though you can't see me. But I don't know if you picked up on that, but it was really fucking bizarre.
There was so much going on there, straight out of the gate, wasn't there? And again, fucking, I'm going to tell myself off in a minute, but Shake just inserts himself into the conversation. They're trying to talk about, you know, Shane and Natalie, and this blowout must have been the mother of all blowouts, because, you know, they tried to get back on track, but clearly couldn't. Shane looks so uncomfortable, and he's fidgeting like he's got ADHD or something, all over the place, and his eyes are over looking everywhere apart from the person who's talking to him. Shake's chucking his oar in, giving his opinion on everything, and you can see that Shane is properly like cringing whenever Shake says anything, and he's just like, what are you talking about? But I think the thing with Shayna, she seemed to be really like concentrating and trying to figure out herself, like, what's going on here. I think that's why she was squinting at her eyes a bit, because some of the things that I want to say Greg there, some of the things that Shane was saying just didn't really make sense. They didn't all add up, and especially when it gets to, did anything happen with Shane or Shayna after? And it's like, yeah, but, met as friends and stuff like that. And again, she's got the squinty, almost like Columbo, isn't it? It's like, Really? Is that really what happened there? So honestly, Chris, I think something has happened there, and they've both agreed, to not air anything in the reunion, and that's why I think she was looking and seeing, oh, what is he really saying there and stuff.
It was, and you're right, because Shake starts giving Shane advice. Shane is fucking rolling his eyes. He's like, I mean, you couldn't get him a closer to each. I kept thinking he was going to backhand him at one point. I thought Shane was like, so he kept. I think he was just dying to just fucking throw him across the room, because he was just like you said before, inserting himself in every conversation. He was giving advice out when he treated Deepti with complete contempt, no respect. He treated her horribly. He was becoming the baddie of the series, but this was literally the nail in the coffin for me. I've never come across someone so narcissistical as himself. And he reveled in all the VT stuff, showing him in a bad light. Anything they shown of him, he was like, don't give a fuck. That's the way I feel. And every conversation that carried on through the relationship, he was there. He called them all fucking fake. He said, "You're a bunch of fake fuckers. You've changed since the show." I'm thinking, no, you've changed since the show more than anybody. And it was just ridiculous. It was great TV. Don't get me wrong. It was what was needed. It took 10 episodes to get to this point. But Shake is a wanker, Dave. An absolute C next Tuesday.
Yeah. Now, I think that's going to be the general consensus. I did appreciate, though, that he called it out as fake. And it did cross my mind that he was saying a few things that maybe you and I have said in the past.
Yes.
About people wanting to stay on just for airtime and stuff like that. And I'm like, God, you're being a dick, but you kind of sound a little bit like us.
That means we're dicks as well.
Exactly. So that's why I'm a bit conflicted. Mind you, people probably will agree. I don't know. He just constantly came across like a tool, didn't he? And like you say, utter narcissist. The thing is, though, Shake's convinced he's had a bad edit. He was saying that. And it's like Olivia on Maths, it's all in the editing and whatever. But then you see them even off the show and unedited. It's like, well, you're still a prick, Olivia and Shake. So I don't know. It did. I tell you what, Chris, it made this reunion entertaining, though, didn't it?
Yeah, it made the series ended, and this was almost Maths levels of reunion, wasn't it? It made everything seem more dramatic just because of Shake being there as this sort of spokesman for every relationship. He had like the shittest advice we've ever seen, but was convinced that what he was telling everyone was so good, and it was brilliant. It was just like, you fucking cock. And I loved when Vanessa Lachey went at him, because it was when he told Shane to shut up as he was sat right next to him. Then Jarrett had a go at him and Jarrett was literally like, you don't want this fucking, you don't want this sort of coming at your door, pal. And he's like, bring it. And I'm like, you fucking mad. There's no way. Yeah, exactly. I think Jarrett would be like fucking Scrappy Doo. He'd have his hand on his head, like, well, then give us your best shot. But it was when they showed the thing about the weight, and Deepti would like alluded to a few comments off camera. You could see him panning on her, and she was rolling her eyes, laughing. She was actually laughing at how inappropriate he was. And when that weight thing come and it's so wrong, but it's the brass nerve of it. When I watched it, I'm fucking pissing myself laughing because it's so wrong. I've said, I've been so open about my body issues in that day. I'd be fucking fizzing, but I was laughing at his so brashness, and he just didn't care. And it's like, could have lift you up. And I'm like, how the fuck did you get away with that comment? And Vanessa went at him, Dave, completely. And she even swore, didn't she? As a presenter, that's a no-no. And she swore she was that angry.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the self-awareness of him, isn't it? He just, like I say, he's convinced he's had a bad edit. He's said he's the villain. He's got a villain edit. And did he call her a princess or something like that? But you could just see Deepti was having none of it. And I think probably what we saw during the show, she was just going that extra mile. I said about, when they were having the conversation about, oh, it'd be great to just get up and leave and go somewhere. And he's like, well, I have to focus on my business. And she's like, she does a complete 180. And she's like, yeah, I totally get that. And, it's not as if we could just get up and go anywhere. It's like, what? That's the opposite of what you just said. And I think she probably just needed that bit of time. She made the right decision, but having had more time and space and seeing the show back, she's probably thinking, what the fuck was I doing there? I was just wasting my time. And this guy's a prick. And he just continued to make himself more of a prick as things went on. But Chris, what did you reckon to, is it Kyle and Shayna?
Well, we got the thing, didn't we? We got the conversation that she'd had with Shane, which he had not seen Kyle, had he? Yeah. And she apologized, but then had a go at him saying, basically, you played the blackmail trick with the grandmother's wedding engagement ring or mother's engagement ring. So she still wasn't completely accepting it. But for Kyle, he laid it on the line, he gave it to her, but then all of a sudden went, well, actually, I love Deepti. And had a go at Shake and was like, where the fuck did this come from? And Deepti sat there. Because Natalie, just go back to Shake slightly, but Natalie had alluded to that it was a watered down version we saw on screen of what he'd actually said about Deepti. So if you're using it as an example, she says that in the conversation, if you're using it as an example, did Kyle and Deepti have this close bond that we didn't see on camera? Because obviously they're not going to show that, are they? But he literally he laid it on the line for a saying, basically, I want a piece here. And I was like, oh, well, fair enough. But I don't think they're together, Dave. I've done a bit of research. He just says they're friends at the moment. So that was a bit of a weird one.
I'm not sure how much I buy into what Kyle's saying there, because, again, what we saw was he just kind of, he went after Shayna. She was actually, with the pausing and stuff and, some of the things that she said after, she wasn't giving him a massive green light. And he was just not listening to it at all. And he was so headlong into it. And again, she apologized. She said she should have never said yes, but he couldn't really let go of it, initially until the whole thing came out with Deepti. So, I don't know. I just think he was a bit butthurt, to be honest with you. He was a bit put out, that she'd obviously been having this conversation with Shane as well. But it's kind of the format of the show as well, isn't it?
Yes.
It puts people in these awkward situations where they're essentially dating a brick wall with different voices behind it, each day or each hour that goes by. So, yeah, I thought it was great.
One of the other bits, Dave, which I loved, was when they shown the other love triangle, which is Mallory, Jarrett, and Liana, was when they had that conversation, and Jarrett, obviously, they would cross the line there completely. Again, Dave, it's that thing of, nobody's watching us. Let's just have the conversation. But prompting from the producers, if you flip it the other way, it shows something. But I love the fact that Liana was sat there holding his hand, and I kept looking at her hand thinking, I'm fucking sure she's digging her nails into his hand, because they were holding hands, and she and him had this false, like, oh no, here we go. And he was fucking cringing, quite rightly, because it was totally wrong. Mallory apologized, and we had this. And then obviously Sal went at Jarrett, didn't he? We had a pop at him saying, like, what's going on? You're supposed to be my friend. They weren't together anyway, were they? You know what I mean? And Jarrett did apologize and said it's inappropriate and all this. But even so, I wasn't buying all of it, Dave. I was still like, fuck. And then Mallory sort of turned it on herself, going, I was so worried about all this. And I'm thinking, that's your fucking fault. It's not Liana's fault. She's coming in here blindsided by this. She's not seen it at this point. We have, as the audience, we know what's coming. So you should be the one playing the victim. She sort of tried to bring it back on herself, didn't she? Take the heat off it. Ultimately, they both apologized and there was a line drawn. I did think that's one of them terrible things in a relationship. I just don't know whether Liana will get over that, Dave, with Jarrett in the long run. I know they're still together, but...
Yeah, I think are we not doing the quiz at the end of this one then? I guess. Or are we going to go through it again, and I'll just go, yeah, they're together.
Yeah, they're together. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I didn't do it, because last time you read it before me. So,
all right. For the next reunion, we'll figure out whether I know or not.
Right. Okay.
But Mallory, yeah, again, it's one of those things that the format of the show invites, doesn't it? They've had the conversation, they've formed this emotional connection with a voice behind the wall, but then, it's like a backdraft, isn't it? The doors are flung open, and then you might have had a bit of a connection with someone else, and then physically when they're there, it's that's what I think happened with Jarrett and Mallory. Now, fair play to them. After that slightly flirtier conversation than I think they should have been comfortable with, they didn't really act on it. It's not like maths. They'd have been fucking, right in there, wouldn't they? So, at least they didn't act on it, but it must have been horrible to watch. But I think that'll be squashed. And Jarrett and Leanna, look as strong as anyone, to be honest. I think it would have hurt seeing that, but it's very early in the process. I think they'll get through that. I'd be fairly confident.
Yeah, they may do. They may do, Devin. I think as well, if you're looking at Nick and Danielle, because they were the only two couples who were together at the end of it. But Nick was having a right go at Shake one, and Danielle trying to tell him to shut his mouth, because he went at him as well, didn't he? As well as, because Nick, who's with Danielle, he actually said, I've just stopped following you. Like, it's fucking ridiculous the way you are. And I just loved all that, Dave. I loved the fact that, to be fair to Shake, he got the actual host to break. You would never get that on a fucking Bachelor, because they're all fucking wooden fucking presenters, aren't they? So they'll just literally they'll just smile through like gritty teeth. Oh, right, okay. No, but you wouldn't get that. So I did love the fact that Vanessa kept it real. And then Nick, her husband, he stuck up for it in a way of just saying, like, you're not changing, you're not growing. They both said it, you're not growing as a person, Shake. You're just a dick, basically. And it was the way he was like, I'm keeping it real. And it's like, no, you're keeping it real because you're a fucking dick. You know what I mean? Like, they've been kind on the edit because you're a fucking knobhead. And that's exactly what you are. You're a prick who has just completely railroaded and made yourself look like a wanker. Just out of interest, Dave, you know who reminded him of slightly? Andrew off Maths. Now, did you hear about this with Andrew the other day?
Not in the last couple of weeks, no.
Oh, right. So Andrews was manager of a gym, and he changed his name to something like Jason, and then everyone from Maths was like, that's fucking Andrew, and was bombarding his employer. So he's been taken off the way. I don't really agree with that. At the end of the day, it's the end of a show. He was wrong what he did. He was a wanker. He left the show. His fucking career's up in tatters. He's got to be able to rebuild his life and hopefully reflect on what a cock he is. I don't think he will. But yeah, basically changed his name to something like Jason. And they were like, this isn't Jason. This is Andrew from Maths. So I think the website took him down at one point. So yeah, it's a bit of but he reminded me of this situation with Shake, because Shake's a fucking vet. How many people are going to take their animals there, Dave? He's going to be like, I'll be all right. He's only got a limp. Just fucking walk it off. It's fine. Come and see me next week. It
depends if he can pick you up or not.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, that's not good with fucking ginger bollocks in Maths. But I mean, he was a fucking. He was a twat, wasn't he? He was the thing is, manager of a gym. I thought he was supposed to be a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
So maybe he's gone back to managing a gym because no one will fucking take him on. But that's not a massive surprise. And I think I said something to the effect, paraphrasing myself, something to the effect of, if you're in that kind of public-facing business and you're a cock, don't go on a show like Maths. Because, unfortunately, the way some people behave, and when you put yourself out like that, people are just going to go after you.
Yeah, that's true. And we're experienced veterans now of these shows, aren't we, Dave? You see it. You see even these cute conversations, whether you prompt it or not, if you take it for what it is, and it's a situation where they forgot the cameras on them, always going to come back and bite you on the arse. They're always going to do it. So, yeah, I think if
and the producers are not your friends. No, they're really not your friends. And if they ask you to do something, question it very fucking hard.
Well, we're watching Housewives of New Jersey, and I know I've mentioned that on some of the Patreon episodes, like, you know, like what should watch, and we've watched that from the start, and that just fucking kicks off, Dave. There was a table went up, a bit like what happened on Maths with Olivia. You know, like where, you know what I mean? But this went all over everyone, glass, drink, everything, and it all kicked off. So you get proper punch-ups on that. Like, I'm not condoning violence, but as a reality TV fan, you know what I mean? What's a black eye between friends, Dave? You know, especially when it's a camera crew there. But no, I think if we were gonna score this, and we did this with when we review Maths, as obviously Maths for me is a 10 out of 10, but I think overall as a show, this has been, again, I think this is middle of the road for me, Dave. I think it's had something. It's had something, but it's not been as good until the reunion. The reunion was what made it, I think, to be honest. It was just ridiculous, this. It
was just Jerry Springer style, wasn't it, the reunion? Yeah. And so I do think it elevated it a bit, but I'd agree with you. I think we said on the last recap, you know, it's a bit of a middle of the road series. You know, we enjoyed the first one, didn't we? But it's just I don't know if they'll do a third season, especially the way Netflix is going.
Maybe it's our time, Dave. If they're on a fucking budget, they might need two middle-aged old men to present it. Nick and Vanessa Lachey might be fucking down the river. So
for half the price.
Yeah. Anyway, have you got anything else to talk about on this, Dave? Because I think I'm done for now.
I think that's it. I think those were the major highlights. I will say I didn't really think Danielle and Nick would last the course. I thought, you know, once the cameras had gone, I just think they're two different people, and it sounds like that's not the case. I'm not fully bought in. I don't think that will last that long, but let's see, I guess.
Yeah, let's do it. So, Dave, thank you, everyone, as always, for supporting us, guys. If you want to support us, get over to Patreon, patreon.com/CD RealityCast. If you want to follow us on social media, @CD RealityCast. And if you want to email us, cdrealitycast@gmail.com. So, today's roll call of honour is Keith, Helen, Brianna, Noreen, Zoe, Joanna, Helen, Katie, Dee Dee, Priscilla, Susan, Hennessy, Lauren, Lucky Lily Green, and Kent Stars. And so thank you so much, guys, for all your support, past and present. As we say every episode, we really, really appreciate it. Now, Dave, we put a full stop on Love is Blind Season 2. We are going straight into the ultimatum, my friend, aren't we? And we're going to be covering the first 4 episodes on our next show.
Yep. And we've already seen them, and I can't wait to talk about this one.
Me too, mate. Me too. This is a bit of us, this. So, no, thank you for this, mate. It's been a great series, and I'll see you next time.
Bye now.